The Conjuring film series. Now, it's been going on a long time, and it's based off of real-ish events. Ed and Lorraine Warren, who've been doing paranormal investigations since before I was born. I'm 40, by the way, and I was born in 85, so they've been doing it a long time. They've claimed to be spiritual and other types of helpmates, but some people think they were just charlatans. Now me, I'm a little on the fence. I never met the real Warrens, but I do know that if their depiction is even a tenth as accurate as it is in these films, they weren't bad people. Let's look back at the series from its humble beginnings. Now, by this point in time, Ed Warren had passed away and Lorraine had secured the film rights. So she collaborated with James Wan and Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson Wharton. His first name is Patrick, anyway. To make The Conjuring, a film about a family who got a farm and got more than they bargained for. I loved it. The scare factor was perfect, and the acting was just awesome. Couple that with the atmosphere and the music, and jump scares done right, and honestly, I couldn't get enough of it. Now the next film, which takes the Warrens to merry old England to deal with a family that's being haunted in one of their Enfield government houses, and also touches on the Amityville haunting. It was okay. A little too movie cliche action heavy, not as atmospheric as the first film, but honestly, it wasn't terrible. Not really. It also introduces a character known as Velik, a demon posing as a nun. Or possibly a demon who possessed a nun and never let her go. We'll get to her later. So anyway, yeah, Conjuring 2 was okay. The third film, where the Warrens have to help a young man who murdered someone while possessed, supposedly. It was okay. The courtroom drama part was not too intrusive, and this one's a little bit gorier than the other films, but overall, I would say maybe a little better than 2, but not as good as 1. So yeah. And then we come to the spin-off shows. Annabelle. Now, the real Annabelle that's locked up in the Warrens' house, that's a Raggedy Ann doll that's possessed, but they decided to not show a more realistic Annabelle for fear of maybe the character getting backlash, so this Annabelle is custom made. Basically, we see that Annabelle is possessed by a restless spirit of a girl who offed herself, and who nearly offed a married and pregnant couple. And We later see them fight the demonic entity with a little help. Not from the Warrens, but from others in an apartment building. Yeah, the atmosphere is okay, but I wouldn't call it as good as the first Conjuring film or even the other two Conjuring films. Now, ironically, the prequel to this one, Annabelle Creation, where we find out just how Annabelle was built and some of the origin of not only the doll's possession, but the girl who grew up and offed herself after becoming part of a cult. In the previous film, which was actually a sequel to this film. So if you want to watch them in chronological order, you got to watch this one first and then watch the main Annabelle film. It was honestly a little better than its predecessor. So, yeah. It takes the idea of, nature versus nurture and turns it on its head. It was okay. Definitely better than the first Annabelle film. And then we come to Annabelle Comes Home, where she finally ends up at the Warrens' house. Unfortunately, she starts to exert her control over the other possessed / cursed / ritualistic objects in the Warrens' house, forcing their young daughter to sort of take on the grown-up role of her parents and protect her friends while the Warrens are away. And during this battle of good versus evil, where the kid does not come off as a Mary Sue, but rather she's in over her head, but she tries her best and does a decent job. Anyway, the Warrens spot another movie happening, but drive by because they don't really get involved. What I like to call as the technical addition to this franchise, The Curse of La Llorona, based on the story of a woman who was cheated on by her husband, and so in revenge drowned her 2 sons in a river, then drowned herself because she realized in a moment of hatred for one guy, she killed 2 innocents, and now she cries out for her kids, but is compelled to drown any kid who gets too close. This one is a bit of a side quest. Basically, a woman from Child Protective Services who thought she was protecting some kids from their deranged mom, only to get them killed by the spirit of La Llorona. But then the spirit latches on to her kids, and she's got to figure out ways to stop her from going after her sons and hopefully avoid the terrible revenge of the woman who lost her kids earlier in the film. It was okay. This definitely is the weakest of them all. It's not offensive, but I'm sure there are better La Llorona stories out there. And then we come to a prequel to the whole kit and caboodle. The Nun. Basically, we get to see the origin of Velik and the woman who would later be known as the Nun. We follow a young nun in training, played by Vera's sister, Thaisa Farmiga. Only, frankly, they look more like mother and daughter, to be honest. I mean, I was shocked when I found out they were sisters and not mother and daughter. Anywho, so this young novice discovers a church where bad things happened, evil was sealed away, and then the war, like one of the world wars, either one or two possibly, caused the evil to start breaking free. And it's up to her to be properly initiated and to fight this evil. And along the way, she got to find a means to actually hurt a demon. One supposedly being a vial of JC's blood, which would be genetic research gold in this time period, but we gotta fight evil, so it had to be used as a weapon. Anywho, this film was okay. It had decent atmosphere. The acting wasn't terrible. But overall, it was kind of weak. Not as weak as La Llorona, but still, see it once for the sake of completion and then decide for yourself if you want to see it again. Ironically, The Nun 2 was much better. This guy who got possessed in the previous film, he was freed from Velik's control, but Velik wasn't done with him. So things start going wrong at a school or orphanage, I think it was, where the former novice, now a proper nun, is working with the kids. And she finds out the evil that she thought she fully defeated had followed her. So now it's up to her and some fellow nuns and initiates to work together to protect the children and vanquish the evil once and for all. But as we found out from the second Conjuring film, the nun's evil didn't stay down. Although it seemed like Thais's friend group won the day. We later find out that the guy who was used by Velik had to be exorcised for like the third time by the Warrens, and it didn't go very well. And that's how they're tied in with this offshoot. And then we finally come to the case that ended it all. The Conjuring Last Rites. Now, Ed and Lorraine have been at it for quite some time. Their daughter is in her 20s now, and we find out that when she was born, labor was induced by a cursed mirror that spiritually attacked Lorraine and caused a stillbirth. And it was only a miracle that saved the kid. But when evil gets a taste of you, especially when you've touched the other side, it has a tendency to follow you. So eventually, the mirror found its way into the possession of a new family in Pennsylvania. Ironic, considering where this video is being shot. And eventually, it makes a connection with the Warrens and sort of throws down the gauntlet. You know, one last battle. Even though Ed's heart has become weakened over time, so he's got to avoid any stress. Like, say, exorcising a cursed object from a household. But it seems the young Warren girl has inherited her mom's gifts. That, plus touching the other side when she was a baby, compelled her to answer the call. So, ultimately, the Warrens and young Miss Warren's future husband end up all going to Pennsylvania to fight this evil and protect their daughter once and for all. It was pretty good. I enjoyed the back and forth between Patrick and Farmiga. They really do feel like a couple that had been together for a long time and had their ups and downs, but never stopped truly loving each other. And the young woman who played the youngest Warren, Judy, she was good. She felt natural. Like she grew from the girl who protected her friends from Annabelle, but didn't come away from that encounter without any scars, if you know what I mean. The guy playing her future husband, he was a bit of a dork, but he had a decent backstory, and I felt like when given the chance to be a hero, he could step up, even though it cost a few lumps. As for the family, they felt like a normal family from any time period. There were basically 8 people in a house that probably only supported 4 people. And it was chaotic in the best way. It took me back to several familial encounters. And so you sort of felt for them when the bad stuff started to happen. And while there is some cliche when it comes to the haunting, like shadows that manipulate stuff when you go to turn on the light and it's not there, levitation, mirror tricks, but overall, the atmosphere was solid. You could feel the weight pressing down on you that usually accompanies malevolent hauntings, or so I've been told. The ghosts in question were done practically. A lot of the effects were done very, very practically. Personally, I think the best effects in the Conjuring universe are done practically, and I would say this one comes close to the first film, as close as any other film. It's a bit long, but the character development that you get right before the big payoff is worth the wait. And seeing how the characters work off each other and how everyone comes together in different ways. Ed pushing through his weak heart, Lorraine and her daughter pushing through the shared trauma of what they experienced over the years, and even the future husband pushing through his probably feeling like he's in over his head. To all come together to beat this evil really sold just how human these characters were. I don't want to spoil things, but considering the actual people are, in the case of the younger ones, still alive, and in case of the older ones having passed away peacefully, I would call this one a happy ending. That's not spoiling anything. It should be a happy ending. But yeah, this one brings the show to a satisfying close and sort of closes the book, but makes you want, or leaves you wanting more. Thinking, because it speaks of other cases that might have been less stressful than this one. So, yeah. All in all, a fairly satisfying ending to the Conjuring universe. But there might just be more stories to tell in other forms. This is Mr. J signing out and reminding you the Ghostbusters containment unit has nothing on the Warrens' artifact vault. So let's hope it has a good, strong lock. And when they start tours up again, they make sure to have designated trails so people don't get tempted to touch anything. Because if the Ghostbusters container blows up, I'd hate to see what happens with that artifact vault. And the Warrens, however many there are left, still ain't afraid of no ghosts.